We don't know if we're actually live yet. So we just sit here and we
Because
wait.
of the 5-second delay.
5-second delay.
You are live.
We are live. We're popped up. Welcome, everybody, to another Stick of Joseph live stream. Just so you know, we're going to start doing these every other Tuesday. So it's going to be the first and the third Tuesday of every month at least at 7 p.m. So mark it in your calendars, clear your schedule, put your kids to bed early, so you can join us every other Tuesday. Today we got a good cast. We got Brad Whitbeck.
Hey,
Dude, you haven't been on Ward Radio a lot lately, man. You've been busy. What other stuff have you been doing?
I've just been super busy. So Riley and I,
Writing?
a little bit of everything, mostly writing. So Riley and I have our Dragon fantasy series, the Keystone Chronicles. We're
I
like,
think you mean you and Raven.
yes, we're writing under a pen name,
Blake
of
and
Blake and
Raven
Raven Pen. And we have our 5th book is coming out in the spring. So we are like really getting to the very end of the series here, which is awesome.
How many cumulative pages have you guys written for this?
Oh, cumulative pages.
Or words.
Words is easier. 135, 180, 150, 150. I I should know. But we're like midway through 5, so it's
you're
like
going to hit about like 850 or 900,000 something total.
Maybe.
That's crazy.
We're
hit a million. Hit a million.
We'll do that with the next
It's going to
series.
be a fat book 5 to hit a million.
I don't even think I've read a million words in my life. Like, that's insane.
Hey, no.
To write that.
I'm sure that you have. If you count the number of times you've read the
Bro,
scriptures.
stop signs.
Yeah, there we go. Just right there.
Stop
265,000. And stop signs.
But yeah, that's what I've been up to most. I should be getting on to more Ward Radio stuff soon.
Well,
yeah.
the internet's been missing you.
Oh.
I think. At least I have.
I'm sorry, internet.
I don't even watch Ward Radio anymore ever since Brad hasn't been on.
Oh my gosh.
Just kidding. And then some of you might not recognize who Rob Kaye is, because he doesn't show his face on his YouTube channel, Mormon Yeshiva. But when we did our first live stream, when we got back from or when we built the studio, actually, we I think 10 people said, like, hey, you need to have Rob Kaye on. You need to have Rob Kaye on. And so we did what the people wanted. We brought Rob Kaye on. So welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Tell a little bit your background. Who are you? And what do you have to share with us?
Okay. Well, I guess the easiest way to say it is I'm a Jewish convert to Mormonism.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
love the Book of Mormon. And my life is really not that interesting, trust me.
I mean, that's more interesting than most people. Most like to convert from Judaism, have that background, the language background, the mythological, not mythological and the fake, but like the stories that you hear, in Judaism and all that stuff, and what you bring to the table. We recorded probably an hour and a half or more episode earlier today that we're going to release on the Stick of Joseph. And I think you brought 61 slides, and we made it through like 15. It was great.
I wasn't sure how far we were going to get.
Yeah.
But it was
that's
really
not on you.
interesting.
That's on us.
That's on us for asking so many questions, because you bring a really interesting perspective, and we'll probably get into a lot of different things. And then Dave Butler, who are you?
I don't know anymore.
Yeah, you've lost yourself.
I can't find myself. No, I am Dave
homeless.
Butler. We have
Not the
same
other
thing.
Dave Butler.
I am not the other Dave Butler, for Pete's sake. I'm the one that you were disappointed to find out was involved in fundraising for the Sanford family. I'm the one who who has never taught seminary and is probably on the short list of people who were banned from teaching it.
Yeah, for teaching anything.
Yeah, this guy cannot be hired by CES.
Yeah.
People know who I am.
Yeah, Dave is the editor-in-chief of Plain and Precious Publishing, and he's actually doing something. We'll kind of get this out of the way. We'll talk about it later as well.
yeah.
But real quick, if you guys have any questions during the live stream, we get a lot of chats. If you want us to answer your question, just do a super chat, and we'll make sure that we answer and address every single super chat during the live stream.
We'll try anyway, but like the font is kind of
Really
small
small.
and it's sort of far away.
I know.
So
Get
Yeah,
your
man.
eyes.
even
I'm
if you
gonna
don't
have to be
super chat, we'll look,
squinting.
but we may miss them. It's
Yeah.
super chats. If you haven't seen these, they come in. Well, of course they come in giant and big blocks.
But
of color.
Brad also looks hot when he's squinting at the thing. He's got yeah.
Yeah, I'll make
Thanks,
sure,
thanks,
Like,
Hayden.
I'll
sort
make
of
sure you won't
mysterious.
miss any chats. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Dave,
Yes.
You're doing something very interesting.
Yeah.
With the Stick of Joseph, but you're the main host putting it together. Talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I was approached by the sort of founders of Faith Matters last year. We had a series of conversations, and where that ended is they've got a venue called The Compass, which is an art gallery in Provo on West Center between 2nd and 3rd West.
Oh, cool. And
the art is on walls that are movable, so they sort of stand in the middle, but they all push to the sides. What you're left with is a hardwood floor and a very cool. You've seen these places where they go back and they pull away all the plaster and stuff and get you back to the brick, right? So it has like the old 1910 or whatever brick wall. Very cool looking. Space, which they have equipped with cameras and streaming audio gear, and so they have asked me to curate a monthly series of presentations there. So we'll give you again details, but on the 15th of January. So we think notionally these are going to be on the 3rd Thursday. It'll vary a little bit because in the 3rd Thursday of June, I don't think I'm going to be in the country, but basically the 3rd Thursday. It'll be Mike Day. He'll be the first presenter. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so...
and these are all in the Old Testament. It's called the Stick of Judah 12-part lecture series.
Yeah, it is called the Stick of Judah. I want to talk about the title in a minute here.
Oh, yeah. I like it already. This is great.
So the basic idea is to say, hey, look, the Hebrew Bible is really vast and complicated. And if you are sitting in a typical Sunday school class, you're using materials that are pitched at 8th graders, literally, and your teacher is hopefully supplementing them, but like fundamentally, you're getting a pretty kind of basic discussion of anything that's talked about, okay? Mm-hmm. Not that in 12 lectures we can cover the Hebrew Bible at anything like depth. It's more like a sampler plate. We can say, here's this idea that is going to be useful to you if you want to read commentary. Here's this unusual perspective, right? Here are maybe they're not even necessarily sort of scholarly or interpretive, right? But here's a different way to interact with the Hebrew Bible. So that'll be monthly. The format, the way it should work, is there'll be a presentation, 30 to 45 minutes, and then a conversation between me and the presenter. And then there will be it'll be Q&A. So
and then the mud wrestling is after?
The mud wrestling is actually up front. Good, thank you.
Oh, good.
Is between me and whoever pays the most in an auction to get in the door at 5:30. Yeah. It's for charity. The charity is me.
It's a self-enrichment foundation.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so if you want to get tickets, so Mike Day's the first lecturer. He is going to be talking about the documentary hypothesis. And so the way it's going to break down is he's going to do his lecture. It's going to be about 45 minutes. Then he's going to sit down with Dave, and they're going to have a dialogue about it. And then there's going to be a Q&A at the end. We are going to be live streaming just the first lecture part on the Stick of Joseph. But if you want to be there for the back and forth and the Q&A, you're going to have to get tickets. So there's not a lot of tickets. This is the smallest event we've ever done.
100. We believe they seat 100.
Yeah, so they seat 100. So these tickets are probably going to go quick. So if you would like to come to this lecture series and go to the first one, January 15th in Provo, Utah, link is pinned in the chat, as well it should be in the description of this video whenever it's done. So
yeah, just as like sort of what else are these things going to cover? Well, I think in month 2 we're going to have a presentation about Abraham as an astronomer. We're going to have a discussion of the combat myth of creation that is in the Hebrew Bible, because there are several different creation stories. We tend to think about Genesis 1, but there are more than one. The combat myth is one of them. We're going to have Rob Kaye is going to come in and talk to us about some Rob Kaye type subjects.
You're going to talk about how Satan made mosquitoes?
Satan makes mosquitoes is going to be Brad's lecture subject, number 6. No, but also, for example, we'll have James Goldberg come in and talk about the Bible as literature, I think specifically about the book of Hosea.
Oh, nice.
I think we'll probably have a presentation about First Enoch and what is so interesting about it that it made it almost but not quite make the cutoff.
The cutoff.
Right.
So close.
So, So are you going to put a link in the chat or something?
Yeah, we put
for
a link in
people
the chat, and people in the chat and in the description, you'll be able to get tickets to the event. So it's going to be awesome. We're going to be doing 12 of them. So if you can't make it to this one, hopefully you can make it to the other ones. It's going to be a fun year.
It's going to be fun. And I'm going to tell you something right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So that I don't take up time in the actual presentation. So actually, like in December, I was talking with Bill Turnbull, who's kind of Faith Matters guy, and about the name, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, I like names that are actually in the Bible. What about "Hast thou heard the secret of God," which is in Job 15? And he said, that sounds kind of Gnostic. And I said, well, that could be a selling point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I like unveiling. What about unveiling the Hebrew Bible? And I said, that sounds kind of racy to me. Yeah. He said, that could be a selling point. And if you look at the ads, you will see that Bill won. But I'm not going to tell you about, what is so powerful or persuasive about Bill Turnbull, but I want to tell you just a little bit about why the title that I didn't get, why I wanted to call it that.
The Stick of Judah?
No, Stick of Judah's the title, but the subtitle, I wanted that, Hast thou heard the secret of God? So it's Job, it's 15:8. Really, it's verses 7 and 8, and this passage is fantastic for various reasons. One reason is that the translation is spectacularly bad.
Those are the best passages in the Bible.
Yes. So, verse 8 is where the quote comes from. Hast thou heard the secret of God? But the Hebrew says Habesod Eloah Tishma. Now.
Terrible translation.
Yeah, as you're obviously shaking your heads right now. The King James guys, what are you thinking? So look, marks this as a yes or no question. So right out of the gate, this is going to be yes, no. Okay? But sod. But it means in. And to get to the King James translation of this verse, you have to completely ignore this word. Because they just say, it just says, hast thou heard the secret of God? No, it's yes, no, in the sod. Well, sod is counsel, right? So maybe secrets here, but this is a question about this is about the question of yes, no, did you do something in the counsel of God, right? So, Habesod Eloah, now that's a very funny name for God. It's a funny name in a distinctive context. So if you look at the book of Job, I forget how many chapters there are, like 40 or something, 38, something like that. Right up front, God is Yahweh. Right at the end, God is Yahweh. For the big middle part, there is no Yahweh. Okay? Instead, there are two names for God, and they are generally used in parallel as if they mean the same. And they are Shaddai, Eloah, Eloah, Shaddai, Shaddai, Eloah. So, really the question is, yes, no, in the council of Shaddai, in the council of Eloah, Tishma, did you hearken? Did you heed? And that's not the same question as the King James translation. And it's even less the same question. You look at verse 7, right? Which is, it says, Harishon Adam Tivaled, right? And I don't know what the King James says, but something like, are you the first man who was born? But actually it says, are you the first Adam, the first Adam who was born? The biblical scholar Trygve Medinger, Scandinavian guy, wrote a book commentary called The Eden Narrative, and he identified 3 different narratives about Adam in the Hebrew Bible, and one's in Genesis 2 and 3, and one's in Ezekiel, and this is the third one. It says this is a narrative about Adam, and it's verses 7 and 8. And I'm looking at the Mechon Mamre translation now. Art thou the first man that was born? Wast thou brought forth before the hills? Dost thou hearken, or it could be did thou hearken, in the counsel of God? And dost thou restrain wisdom to thyself? Remember, the Adam story, as we have it in Genesis, asks the question, can mankind have both life and wisdom? And the version in Genesis alone says no.
Just wisdom.
It says if he gets wisdom, he loses life.
Interesting.
Right? Mm-hmm. And Medinger calls this, he says, this is another version of the story of Adam, possibly a special version. He never explains what he means by a special version. But in this version of the story, Adam stands in the sod of Eloah, and there he gets wisdom, right? So, look, that was what I wanted for the title. Here's sort of what I wanted to express. The Bible is wonderful. It is not easy, right? It is complex. It is beautiful. It is a collection of books, sometimes at odds
Filled
with itself, filled with contradictions.
Wait, what?
I know. Sorry,
Dave. No.
Yeah, fundamentalists hurt worst.
Oh, crap.
And it takes work, right? But also that work is rewarding, and it's not always rewarding when you think. You know, you dig into some story where you're convinced you're going to find something and you don't. But then you're motoring along in the Book of Job and you see, oh, there's like a whole other Adam story I had no idea was here. That sounds like Adam somehow gets to go back, and that's how he gets wisdom, is by entering into the sod of Eloah. So that was thematically kind of what I wanted to communicate with that. So I have told you that is a secret. Nobody else knows that. I will not say that at the event now. But you should come. It'll be a lot of fun.
It will be a lot of fun. And, just kind of going off, I was saying this off camera before we started. The big revelation that I've had recently over the last month and a half is that, honestly, the Protestants are so different than we are. The Catholics are way closer to us than the Protestants. And one of the big reasons is because of what you were just barely saying is like we can look at the Bible and see contradiction. We can see the messiness, the confusion that exists within, and we see the beautiful Word of God. And the issue that I see with the way that the Protestants view Scripture as this infallible, untouchable thing is how are you supposed to read yourself into this? You know what I mean? And the fact that the canon of Scripture is filled with contradiction. I know I'm filled with contradiction. Like there are things that we're all walking contradictions in some sense, right?
Yeah.
Like there are many things that we believe that we do not adhere to, even though we believe them, right? And so what that does is if God can breathe into this scripture, if God can exist in here, that means he can exist in me. You know what I mean? And so that's why I'm excited to go through the Old Testament and get into it. I'm excited for this lecture series and see what everyone has to share.
It's going to be cool. It'll more or less coincide with the scheduled reading for Come Follow Me. Yeah. More or less, imperfectly.
Nice.
Yeah.
You want to get to a couple?
We'll get to the two super chats. First off, what's a honey trap? What's a honey trap? Someone was saying this is a honey trap, but I don't know I know what a honey trap is, but I don't
means
know
that we're hot.
We're hot.
And we're going to seduce you on
trap?
behalf of the Central Intelligence Agency.
Oh, no.
I'm pretty sure what that means.
Oh, I bet it's because of the honeycomb in the background.
Okay.
I bet it's because Brad is here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
True.
Yes.
All right, Brandon,
They're onto us.
You want to read the
Yeah,
two
for
super
sure.
chats?
This chat is not working, but I got it right here.
Okay.
Dad Bod Master has returned to the chat.
We love Dad Bod Master.
He was going to come in here and talk to us about Song of Solomon. That's who Dad Bodmaster was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That is
Well,
so
guess what his
beautifully
comment
appropriate.
says? Guess what his super chat is? So stoked to learn how to see Lehi's vision in the stars. It seems to show up everywhere, even the Song of Solomon.
Oh,
we
interesting.
Hey.
We had a conversation about Solomon today that will come out in the Stick of Joseph. It was very interesting.
Would love to hear
Okay,
more
well,
about that.
We'll get in.
Bod.
We'll let Rob start taking us through that. Let's hit the other super chat if you want to read
Yeah,
that.
last one real quick. From Pickjag House. Does the Sephiroth and Lehi's dream correlate?
Does the Sephiroth and
Sephiroth.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry
And the
for my
Hashim.
pronunciation.
Well,
What is the Sephiroth? Explain that.
It's
to
my favorite Super
This is
Smash
actually-
character.
that's actually a really
He's
good
the
move.
bomb.
Let's not assume that everybody has
knows
the
what
same
Sephiroth is.
preparation as the guy asking the question.
Sephiroth has
What
the
are-
best
what are the
side B
Sephiroths?
move.
Tell me about that.
the Sephiroth are okay. Sephiroth basically equates to the emanations of God. These are vessels that, in one sense, are identified as His attributes. Okay, so you have wisdom, understanding, mercy, judgment, long suffering, glory, the foundation, and then of course we're down here at the very bottom of the tree.
Yeah.
Which means we're in the lowest of the lows that you can pretty much get. And so the idea of the Sephiroth is they are you could describe them in one way as like the fruits of the tree of God.
Yeah.
Pull
up a picture of the Sephiroth.
If you were just to visually look at it, you would see them as extensions of branches. The best way to describe them is the idea of, for Mormonism in general, is imagine the spheres that you see on there are like attributes of God: wisdom, chokmah, bina, understanding. Da'at is the hidden, means knowledge. Chesed is, of course, mercy. Gevurah is judgment or severity. Tiferet is beauty or balance, sometimes called the secret of the sun, meaning S-O-N. And Netzach means like enduring, like an idea of long-suffering, enduring. Chod, which is glory, and Yesod, which is foundation. And the foundation is the idea of coming together of male and female. Okay, and then of course down below that, at the very bottom of the tree, you have where we're at, Malkut. There's just the kingdom. And and of course the branches along everything, and those are what we call the paths of wisdom that connect the varying
And
branches.
so this is a way of representing how ascension works in the Hebrew.
Exactly, and it also has astronomical parallels because each of the Sephiroth is represented by a planet. So, like for example, we have Earth down here at the bottom, Yesod, the moon. And I have to admit, I have to recall the ones that they are. But like Gevurah is Mars, of course.
Of course.
I think, everybody knows that one. Severity, Mars, war, judgment. And I always get these backwards, but I have to manage to do this right. I believe that Bina is Saturn, and I think Chokmah is Jupiter.
Is Keter the sun?
And Tiferet is the sun.
Oh.
Tiferet is and of course now it depends on which tradition.
Yeah.
In some traditions, yes, Tiferet is the sun, but the heart of it is traditionally seen as the sun, with the very top of the tree. And again, these are by tradition only, so you have to realize that this is their attribution. But so there is an astronomical correlation, but for most of the time that when we're talking about the tree of life, these are the expressions of the love of God. Of his pure character, his pure essence is being filtered down to us through these varying attributes and medium of exchange. It's kind of like when light travels down, like even Joseph Smith, when he talks about how light goes from one sphere to another, to another, to another, and then we get it here on Earth. It's very similar to that.
Interesting.
We lay it out two-dimensionally, but in actuality, if you compress it where it should be, it's multi-dimensional sphere.
So I two questions. Question and an observation. So if one of the if Malkut is Earth,
yes,
right? So then you've got 9 other Sephiroth. Is that right?
Yeah.
So Pluto is a planet.
Well, no. Because if you're counting the moon and the sun as planets, then you're using a traditional pre-Copernican kind of
so
understanding.
Pluto's still out.
So how do we get to 9? Like, do we count Venus twice as the morning and the evening star? Do you remember?
Oh, good question. Let's see. I know it's the 7 planets.
Yeah.
And then, of course, at the top, see, usually we'll whack it off at the top. And then, of course, you have, I gotta remember this one,
Well, because Da'at is that one.
Dot is hidden.
That's hidden.
Dot
yeah,
is
you don't
hidden.
actually see that
So
one.
that one doesn't count. Right?
Yeah, so you take
gets
that
us
one.
right.
Because that would actually bring you to 11, to be honest.
Right, that would be 11.
And then there's also what we call a potential 12th one, which is above Keter. But we generally, it's
Meaning the Ein Sof.
Ein Sof, which means like worlds without end.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
eternal world.
Okay, so here's my other observation/question, and I don't know, maybe you'll say, Dave, there's nothing. It's interesting to me that in the sort of anointing blessing in Isaiah 11:2, in which 7 spirits are bestowed apparently on the king or the Messiah. Okay, Spirit of the Lord, Spirit of the fear of the Lord. There's 7 of them. They're in chiasm. I think they're in chiasm. The one in the middle is the Spirit of Etzah, the Spirit of counsel, including Da'at. 4 of them are on the Sephirotic tree. Hokmah, Bina, Gevurah, and Da'at are 4 of the 7.
Yes.
And I don't think I've ever heard you talk about Isaiah 11:2, and I wonder if you think there is a connection between that verse and the tree, or if that is incidental.
Well, let's take a look at the verse.
Okay, so Isaiah 11:2, I have it pulled up here.
Sorry, I did not warn Rob. I was going to say something nutty.
Yeah, you psycho. Okay.
That's correct.
And real quick before we get into this, how does this compare to the tree? Is the tree of life is this is kind of like a representation of the tree of life?
Because so the tree of life, you understand, the idea of the tree is it's probably the pinnacle symbol of ancient Israelite prophetic tradition.
Yeah, it's what we were cut off from.
Yeah, I mean, there's the cube, which is a totally different thing, but which we talk about another time. But the tree of life is probably the very top one. Yeah. And so, how is it composed? Well, obviously, the diagram we see is more modern. It comes out about 1500s with the Sefer Bahir, which is a book in it's a book amongst various Hebraic or Jewish traditions that were passed down and written later. But they encapsulate earlier teachings that are attributed to all the way back to supposedly Adam.
Okay, so that's a connection here. Yeah. And then we'll read right here. Actually, I'm going to start with number 1 because it connects to the tree of life a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, and there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of its roots. So right there, we're already seeing tree of life Lehi imagery, right?
Yes.
A rod growing out of the roots of a tree. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord.
So he's giving you expressions of the tree of life. And it is interesting if you'll notice that the rod shall come out of the stem. So you're getting the roots of the tree of life, are found in heaven. So that's Ein Sof, that's above Keter, that's at the very top of the tree. It's almost like an upside down tree because really its roots are in heaven.
Yeah.
We just flip it over so we can understand it as a tree.
Yeah.
Okay. But the idea of a rod should connect you to the idea of Lehi's dream when he's seeing an iron rod or a rod of iron, which is very similar to the iron rod. But our symbols or our pictures of how we express it in the LDS world are not correct.
Yeah.
So in other words, we think of it like a rod, like almost like a handrail.
The railing,
Yeah. And then some will think of as like, we think of this iron rod from a king where you're going to bash you over the head with.
Yeah.
But the actual original iron rod is Moses' staff, the matah, his staff that had the names of God on it. And why is it called the iron rod? Why? Because it comes out of the tree of life, and specifically out of the judgment or gevurah of God, which is the symbol for iron and judgment or severity. So gevurah is your Mars symbol, which on the first left of the tree is called judgment or severity.
Oh, interesting.
It is the iron branch of the tree. It is the idea behind it is that you're going to cling to the iron rod or the iron branch or the iron staff, and that's where you get that messianic figure of symbolism of the rod of iron, which we think of as an actual rod of iron. It's a judgment stick. It's a basic casting of judgment, but it lends itself all the way back to Moses' staff, and that's where the idea of where it comes from. But Moses' staff was derived from the idea of a tree. And so the tree symbolism comes in. So what is the iron rod is an offshoot. It's an actual branch of the tree that extends itself like a vine.
And just because we've been taking a little bit of Hebrew from Mike Day.
I mean, it's been about a year.
Yeah, it's been a bit. Netzer is one of the words in this very passage we're talking about, right? Where does that fit in this? Because I see Netza. Is that related?
Well, yeah. In other words, anytime you see tree symbolism or horticulture symbolism, you want to go with the actual word that is being used, because they'll play off of it later.
Oh.
Like, for example, when you see a neph is another word for branch. So when you see poetic structures, a lot of times they will come in and they'll say, okay, here's the rod that comes out, here's the branch. Now, you're supposed to understand that while we're going to first look at these words, we're going to look at relationships. What other kind of branches? Now, it's interesting that you have a man by the name of Nephi who carries off a branch of the house of Israel, and he shares the same base root as Aneph, and also the angel Anephiel, who guided Enoch up through the multiple worlds into heaven.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of connotation, but the idea basically wants us to bring us back to, if we were to look at the tree of life, he's saying the spirit of Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh shall rest upon him, the spirit of Chokmah, of Bina, the spirit of counsel, of course, as well, might, spirit of knowledge, Da'at, and even, for example, you'll see in the Book of Mormon as well various usages of mercy claimeth her own. It's on the feminine side of the left-hand pillar, and even as justice or judgment claimeth his own. And you'll see these things, these varying attributes of God being explained or demonstrated in these various symbols. So, your question being specifically, Dave, what do you want me to?
Yeah. So that's all fantastic.
Okay.
Do you think there's a deliberate call out to the Sephirotic tree, or that the Sephirotic tree is? This might be one of the passages it's drawing upon. It just struck me that four of the 11.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of overlap and like the deliberate tree imagery. Right?
Well,
It's pretty cool.
you could, like Isaiah touched upon all things, is what it says. So
Sure.
we understand that basically he's following a very ancient prophetic tradition in Israel. Now, one of those traditions, in which, like I said, told you guys before, Avraham Gileadi does a great introduction to that in his Isaiah literature, seeing it from an eschatological or last days thing, which he does a great job with the symbols. It's just
That's
amazing
just one
work.
of the perspectives you can look
Yeah.
at.
Now, it doesn't mean you cannot look at or not meant to look at from another perspectives. In other words, now that's a prophetic in the sense of last days type of thing. Now let's take a look at Isaiah, not so much as a last day symbol. Now let's take a look at Isaiah as an initiatory text, giving us the blueprints of how and what that ascension back into the presence of God looks like. So in this case, when he talks about a rod shall come out of the stem of Jesse and a branch shall go out of his roots, okay, this is how the Isaiah works in such a great context with the Book of Mormon. First off, you have a branch. Where do you find things of branches? You'll find multiple things in the Book of Mormon, but a principal one, of course, is going to be the parable of Zanos. Okay, and these branches that are taken out and they're spread around. So the idea is, you're given the tree symbolism, noting that when you see these trees, you see the trunk of a tree and the branches of a tree. The roots are in heaven. The trunk of the tree is the name Eye, as in Eye, Asher Eye, which is the great I am, if you will. And then the branches are those things which connect into that golden hilt, if you will. Like a sword. It's sword imagery as well. The hilt of the sword, of a golden sword, is the name of God. So all this imagery plays in. So when you're seeing this, that is the image he wants you to understand, that he's invoking and calling your attention to the tree of life. And there's something here that he is going to teach you that is regarding how an initiate's path back to God and what is in it. So that's why you'll see these other passages in the Book of Mormon. You're being directed there. It's not by accident.
Yeah, well, one thing as I'm just looking over the verses, one of the things that talks about here is judgment. Like, I wonder if we read the rest of this verse, how many of those things from the Sephirot we would actually find, because judgment is in here as well.
And a question that I have about that is, this Sephirot we were just looking at being the 15th century, hearkening back to earlier, is there stuff in here that maybe harkens to an earlier version of whatever that Sephirot is trying to capture, right?
Because additionally, remember, ideally, it goes back to the pattern of the 10 utterances in Genesis, and also the Ashrei in Psalm 145, where it delineates these emanations. So he's perfectly consistent. Sometimes the names will be switched in and out, but if you go back into the Hebrew, you'll see that he's literally directly referencing and trying to draw your attention to, hey, this is the tree of life. I'm going to teach you more about this.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
But one thing I want to point out to that interpretation, I'll look at the super chat here. It said D&C 113.3. So someone asks Joseph Smith the question here, what is the rod spoken of the first verse of the 11th chapter of Isaiah that should come out of the stem of Jesse? Now, you just barely hit on the fact that there are... Avraham Gileadi goes at Isaiah from the last days perspective, and that is a valid perspective. It seems very much like this is kind of what Joseph Smith answers from. Behold, thus saith the Lord, it is a servant in the hands of Christ, as well as of Ephraim, or of the house of Joseph, on whom there is laid much power. So,
yeah, and this is the thing, right? So I'm not trying to answer my own question, but like some additional kind of view. But by the way, people in the chat, some of you said hi. Discussion of Bible translations. I don't know the NASB. Some of you like it. I do not like the NRSV. We can talk about, that's what I'm working with now, and I am not a fan.
How about the Pirate Bible?
I do not like the Pirate Bible. Yes, or anything else generated by AI. And so you look at Samuel, like how does the Spirit of the Lord come upon someone? In the case of Saul or in the case of David, it's by anointing. Mm-hmm. Samuel anoints and the Spirit of the Lord comes upon the future king. Mm-hmm. So I believe this is a royal passage. I do think that it is section 113.3. This is a royal leader, a future royal leader. I think this is probably part of sort of the kingship rituals. And I've written about it in a couple of my books. The only thing I'll add to what I have said there, I don't want to like repeat to you things that you probably already know, is I'm just seeing something for the first time, which is interesting to me, which is this phrase "Yirat Yahweh" at the end of the verse 2, right? Why is it interesting? Well, Yirat it's the construct state. It's fear, so fear of Yahweh, right? But it is awfully close to the verb to see. Mm-hmm. So Yireh Yahweh is said to mean Jehovah sees, or the Lord sees. In I forget what that is, in the Torah somewhere, I think. It's a place name, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not questioning the translation. I think the fear of the Lord is right. But I'm saying I think there's an echo here that the seventh spirit in this anointing is the vision of the Lord, right? As if I think this is a sevenfold anointing on a king, and that it is part of his experience of seeing Yahweh. Mm-hmm. Anyway, sorry, I wasn't trying to like set that up. I just, as I was looking at this, I was like, wow, that's super interesting. I've never noticed.
Yeah, so it is interesting. So let's start. I think this is a good jumping off point. Good question you had, because we kind of got into the tree of life with the Sephirot. We're looking at this language, so let's get into the subject about seeing the tree of life vision in the stars and kind of what you mean by that. Before we get into there, for those who are just coming on, we are doing a monthly lecture series this month on the Old Testament. The Stick of Joseph is presenting the Stick of Judah. It's hosted by Dave Butler. He's inviting many guests to come and give lectures about the Old Testament to expand our knowledge on it. This month, January 15th, it's Mike Day, Dr. Mike Day. So if you want to get tickets, we pinned the link in the chat, and it will also be in the description. So come join us. We only have 90 tickets that we're selling, so they're going to go quick. But we hope you guys can make it. And if you can't make it to this one, there'll be 11 more. So we're super excited. Also, if you're interested, Mike Day is doing a church history tour put on by the Stick of Joseph, July 18th through the 27th. So that's going to be awesome. And link for that, you can go to stickofjoseph.com and click on tours, and that will take you, and you can see if you want to join us. Me and Jackson will be there, as well as Mike, and it's going to be a fun time. So, all right. So, Rob, we asked you to come prepared with something, and we're going to go on dirt roads. If you guys have questions, do a super chat so we can read them off, and we'll answer them best we can. But kind of the basis of it is you made a claim to me on the phone that I was like, what? We had a guy. We had a guy named. Gosh, why am I blanking on his first name? Cameron Coleman.
Who might be in the chat.
Who might be on the chat. And we've had amazing conversations with him about the stars and the relation to the scriptures. And once you read the Bible with the idea of like, let's look for things talking about stars and the heavens, you're like, oh, it's literally everywhere.
And dude, especially considering like we're part of the Abrahamic covenant, right? And the scriptures talk about Abraham being this astronomer. And also, what does God point to when he tells him that he will have his seed be as numerous as what?
As what?
Oh, the stars in the sky. Like, it's all throughout there. So I love this idea of looking more into the stars to try to understand where the beginnings of our faith line up in.
And I think Abraham was actually an astrologer, not an astronomer. Like he was doing horoscopes.
Oh yeah, he's like, I'm a Gemini.
Someone's gonna get real mad at us. Hold on, let me. I'm so excited to hear this. I just want to, because I told people I don't like the NRSV. I just want to tell you an example why. Oh, and here someone's even asking. Biblical scholars use the NRSV. Wonder why Dave doesn't like it. Let me give you an example, Hawaii Gambit. So here's the problem. The NRSV translators are translating into the Bible text into sort of what they think it means. And I think that makes it less now, but there's unquestionably some places where it's better than the King James, okay, unquestionably. But in a lot of places it's worse, and it's often worse because they're just sort of, they've decided they know what the poetic language means, and so they jump past the actual language, the actual poetry, and they stick in what they think it means, and almost inevitably it's wrong. Let me give you an example. 23rd Psalm. There's a place name that appears twice in the Hebrew Bible. Okay, and it is Psalmavet. Now that's one word, Psalmavet, and it appears in the 23rd Psalm and in Isaiah 9. Psalmavet is shadow of death. Now it's one word. So the King James translation is actually not great because it says in the 23rd Psalm, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. And that makes it sound like it's a valley and death's shadow is there. No, it is a valley. Its name is Shadow of Death, right? It is a place, Shadow of Death Valley. And in Isaiah 9, it's the land, Shadow of Death. Like a really good translation would be hyphenated, Shadow of Death, okay? But the King James is pretty good. But the NRSV, because I don't know, following their feelings or something, here's their translation of Psalm 23. Even though I walk through the darkest valley. It's not the darkest valley. It is a place. It is Shadow of Death Valley. It is Shadow of Death Land. That is a place in Hebrew myth. By the way, what place is it? It's here. It's the place where everything you do is under death's shadow. Okay? And the NRSV kind of soy translation obscures that.
Yeah.
So what does it say?
I just read it. It says the darkest valley.
Just the darkest valley.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I
will say their Genesis 1:1 translation is pretty based right there. When God began to create the heavens and the earth.
That's very cool. We've had like several conversations about Genesis 1:1 on this channel because like there are lots of interpretations of Genesis 1. I do like that. That's cool. I agree. There are some places where, and here's another place where it's superior to the King James.
It tells people to like and subscribe?
No, it tells people. It tells
on the
people,
stick of Joseph part, it says, and I will take the stick of Joseph, who you should like and subscribe.
Who you should like and subscribe. In addition to that, no, there are three passages. I think it's 2 in Numbers and 1 in Exodus. I'd have to look to find them, where the Hebrew refers to wine vessels inside the temple. And Robert is exactly right. That's Italian. Traduttore, traditore. The translator is the traitor. That's exactly right. The Hebrew says that there are wine vessels inside the temple, which is super interesting because we don't know when anybody drank wine inside the temple, right? So, and the King James hides that. I forget what the translation is, but it's something wrong. So I'm not saying I love the King James. Like the answer is some
learn how to read
combination
Hebrew. That's the answer.
I hope that Bible Hub or whatever can help you. Those are not tools that I use. Okay. Ultimately, if you're not looking at it in Hebrew, you are relying on some combination of translators.
Yeah, that's good. All right, let's get into it.
Okay.
Take us in.
So, the best place to start is with Lehi's dream is actually at the very beginning of Nephi's record.
Whip out your scriptures, guys. I know you're not driving to work now, so, pause, walk away. We'll give you some time. Grab your scriptures, and let's read it together.
I might be driving home, though.
Yeah, they might be driving.
Or it could be
Pull
night shift
over.
workers.
Yeah, it could be night shift work.
Yeah.
Meaning 1 Nephi 1.
Yes, 1 Nephi 1.
Okay.
So this will begin to give you some because it actually starts out. Lehi starts out with an astronomical account, if you will.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So we see him. He's out there in verse 5. It says, "Wherefore it came to pass that my father Lehi, as he went forth, prayed unto the Lord, yes, even with all his heart, in behalf of his people. And it came to pass that he prayed unto the Lord, and there came a pillar of fire." Okay, there's your divine feminine being manifest. Okay, "and dwelt upon." Always, every time you see that word "dwelt" in the Book of Mormon, it's actually a prophetic marker to harken back to the Exodus 14:19-21, where it contains the 72 names of God. And so when you see that "dwelt," he's teaching you two things. One, this is a temple teaching. Two, he is getting ready to tell you things that of an astronomical nature.
Temple nature.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. It dwelt upon a rock. There's Melkut before him, and he saw and heard much, because of the things which he saw and heard, he did quake and tremble exceedingly. Okay, he goes back to his house, and then here's down in verse 8. And being overcome with the Spirit, he was carried away in a vision, even that he saw the heavens open. So when we see the heavens open, we tend to think, okay, bright binding light, and here comes the angels come down. That's what we think of in our culture. In a Hebrew culture, we don't think of it that way. We think that when in other words, when the heavens are open, it means he's looking at the stars, and now he's understanding what he's seeing.
Oh, he can see the heavens.
Yeah.
It's clearly.
He's clearly seeing something in the heavens, and it's being made manifest.
Interesting.
They're fascinating, yeah.
Okay. So the idea is you saw God sitting upon a throne. Okay, there's your idea of, in a sense, of the center of your zodiac, surrounded by numberless concourses of angels in the attitude of singing and praising. Now, what most people don't realize is that angels and stars in symbolism in ancient Israel are synonymous.
Okay.
So when you're talking stars, you're talking angels. When you're talking angels, you're talking stars as well.
Really?
Now, it doesn't mean that one is the other. It means that it's the idea that because God is God and works in a multidimensional facet, in one narrative, he's going to be talking about an angelic being, but another way to pack as much information into our little minds that he can, he packs the same symbolism, saying, oh, and by the way, here's knowledge of the stars that the fathers had. And he starts off with the very thing of him seeing the throne of God surrounded by angels or surrounded by the stars. Okay. It says, it came to pass, he saw one descending out of the midst of heaven. Okay, and notice how he labels it as his luster, or his har, was above that of the sun at noonday. Okay, and he also saw 12 others following him. There's your zodiac.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay?
Interesting. And can I ask a couple quick questions?
Sure.
Just as like a refresher, with a pillar of fire, you said that is a symbol of the divine feminine.
Yeah.
Can we
Feminine?
go over
The Shekinah?
Yeah, what?
So anytime in the scriptures, when you see an outpouring of God's power or miraculous powers, pretty much just about anything, there's a few exceptions, but most of the time, especially the pillar of fire thing, or the glory of God, it is related to the Shekinah, both the one above and the one below coming into contact with each other. In other words, heaven is coming into contact with earth. So it's the idea is the when you see the miraculous like that, that's an expression of the divine feminine.
Because what is Shekinah?
It means the tenting, the presence, the dwelling.
Yeah.
The
So
presence
he
of God.
dwelt. He's dwelt in a tent.
Yeah.
That's why when you see that little phrase, "and my father dwelt in a tent," that he does 4 times, it's not by accident.
So, and I mean, again, I have suggested elsewhere that I think that the fire on the rock is the same as the throne that Lehi then sees, and the throne from Egyptian imagery, the throne is the king's mother. The throne is feminine. I'm going to say something else which has never occurred to me before, and which might be kind of racy.
Okay, go
So
for
I
it.
don't know if the FCC might step in right now.
Buckle up,
and
like we don't
and like shut
I
us
can't
down.
censor
endorse
anything
anything. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
So I'm gonna say some things. This is from my memory of reading Raphael Patai's The Hebrew Goddess, which I have not read for a few years.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm gonna first of all say like a thing, and you can like say, Dave, you're a total idiot, and then I'll just
No,
stop. Okay. My memory, because the Hebrew Goddess, this is from like 1948 or something. So this is back when people were just not having conversations. Biblical scholars were not having conversations about a divine feminine basically at all. Like that end of the century that really became a thing. Patai's book goes through and says, it starts with the Hebrew Bible, right? And I think even he looks at archaeological evidence, but it follows subsequent Judaism, and he's looking at the imagery around the divine feminine all the way down into like rabbinical sources, right? It is a great book. You should read. Mike and Dave will cover it at some point. The Hebrew goddess Raphael Patai, Patai. Here's the thing I'm remembering. Tell me if I'm wrong. He says that it is I don't know if it's a duty or a practice of a Kabbalist to, here's the racy part, block your ears, okay?
Out of the room.
To the Kabbalist, and he was a man, and his wife, bring in the Sabbath by making love.
Yeah.
And I think it's called the Bride of the Sabbath or something like that is the name of the practice.
Sometimes called the Secret of the Bridal Chamber. Yeah.
Secret of the Bridal Chamber. And this is an invitation for the Shekinah to come, right? So, which I think is lovely, by the way.
It's the idea of like heaven and earth meet. It's kind of like that heaven and earth meeting.
Our meeting. Yeah.
Well, it's also like, hey, sex is a divine thing, not a horrible thing.
Yeah.
Right? So like it's wonderful on many levels.
Be mature about it.
So I joke about it being racy, right? Okay, but
Yeah.
But it's super interesting to me that Lehi is out on the road. He sees pillar of fire, the lightning bolt, right? The column, the presence of the Shekinah, which we're going to learn in a minute is also the same thing as the throne. And by the way, he then he says a divine name which is not in the Hebrew Bible, which is Lord God Almighty, Yahweh Elohim Shaddai, which is super interesting. But he goes back and it says he lies down on his bed and he's overcome by the Spirit. And I'm not commenting. I'm just throwing out the question, man, is this a subtle reference, right? I'm not asking you. I'm looking at you while I say this.
Interesting.
Well,
Is it not interesting to think that maybe that's what the Book of Mormon actually opens up with? Is the bringing in of the Sabbath by a visionary man and his wife?
That's a good one.
Very interesting.
You know,
It says the stick of Joseph kind of resembles the Sephiroth.
It's the Tiferet over there. That's what does
is that
it.
what it is? Oh, okay.
No, I'm pointing at Brad.
Oh.
Okay, so that's really interesting, and that's some things to think about, and people can come to your own conclusions based on what he said. So he goes in, he has the thing, he sees 12 stars,
Yep.
right? And that's representative of the 12 zodiac signs, right?
Yes.
And you said the word he beheld his luster was above that of the sun at noonday.
Noonday.
You said luster was
Zohar.
Zohar. Interesting.
So his
Which,
brilliance.
for the benefit of the punters, is the great. If you had to pick one, the great Kabbalah, Kabbalistic work.
Well, besides the Sefer Yetzirah.
This is the problem. Is you can't pick one.
But the Zohar, the problem with the Zohar for a lot of English speakers, you can get it in English. It's a seal book.
Yeah.
And it just like the Book of Mormon has its own encryption, it has its own encryption. Yeah. So if you read commentaries, you're going to get these people's opinions like you would get with a translator that has their translational bias.
Yeah.
But you can buy good, like I think it's called the Pritzker edition.
The Pritzker is the sort of
a
top
good
end.
one. I've got
That's
one.
like $900 to buy the Pritzker, the 12 volumes of the Pritzker.
I got it.
I do not own this book.
I do.
Looked at it.
And the $900
It was
is
on
the
his
reason
Christmas
why.
list.
Yes, I got it.
Yeah. Santa was thin this year.
You know, it's one of those things that when you begin to learn the prophetic practices and methods of encryption or making a seal book in Hebrew, then both the Book of Mormon open as well as books like Isaiah, even writings like the Zohar, those type of things.
So real quick, because we had this conversation already about Kabbalah.
Yeah.
And so we need to. I want to address Kabbalah and what Kabbalistic things mean.
'Cause there's-
Well, if you go with Madonna and you get a
Oh my
frappuccino,
gosh.
yeah.
and it's like shorts.
Well,
It's not eating people. Okay. Good.
Yes,
because most people look at Kabbalah
And
and
they
they
think-
hear that
they think magic or
they think
something
magic
like that.
and dark magic
Yeah.
and dark stuff. But
And there is people that practice it that try to
Yes.
say that's what it is,
Yes.
but that's not.
yeah, so what does it mean? Where does it come from?
Kabbalah really means to receive. It's the art of reception or receiving from God to bestow upon someone else.
Yes.
It does contain symbolism, which some of the occult world has made off with. Some of the New Age things have co-opted. But as I tell people with anything, you have the real thing, which ideally comes from God, and then you have the counterfeits.
Yeah.
So I'm not talking about, when we talk about Kabbalah here, I'm not talking about counterfeits. I want to talk about the things which came from God.
The things that you
know,
receive from God.
because people read things and they think it's all the same, and it's not. It's just not.
Yeah.
You know.
So that's important background.
Yeah.
So just to connect with the point, Zohar means shining or luster. And actually, it's interesting. There's a connection with the Ark because the Ark is said to have a window, which is a Zohar with a Tzadi, right? But Zohar with a Zayin, because Hebrew has two Z's, and one of them's Tza and one of them's Z.
Yeah.
And if you change it, then it's illumination. So there's I can't remember where it is. I think it's the Talmud. Maybe it's in the Zohar itself. There's this discussion of, did Noah have a window in the ark, or did he have some kind of a shining object?
Well, and in Jewish tradition, they called them, some of the traditions they have called it the Zohar stone. So it was a stone that was illuminated, and like it's even attributed to having been passed down to Abraham and even Joseph. Now, whether that's true or not, we don't know.
Yeah.
But the idea of an illuminated stone that God
Inside the
touches
boat.
inside the boat
Okay.
It's pretty
sounds
cool.
familiar?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy. Okay. Let's keep moving along with this. And if you haven't yet, like the stream so that other people can see it. So everyone just take a second, just push the like button. That's it. That's all we're asking.
And
then,
Matt Tracy Bowman, I definitely feel for you in 40 degrees Celsius weather in Australia.
Oh my gosh.
Glad you're with us.
man, that's
We did
hot.
get another super chat, and
Okay.
I'm not even going to attempt
Try to read
pronounce
that.
it. So who?
He will
He will be.
Yay. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Is-
Hey, yeah.
He is Chove. He was Haya. So you're talking about the permutations of the name of God. Okay. The Creator's name is encoded in the solar system. Yes, it is. And yes, it is a fantastic discussion because we have to understand how the Hebrew archetypal universe works. Okay. God stands at the top. So he's like above. So there's your Yod He Vav He. He stands above everything. Then you have your three mother letters, the Aleph, Mem, and Shin. Then you have your 7 doubles, which means you have 7 double letters. Then you have your 12 elemental letters. The 12 elemental letters are your zodiac. The 7 double letters are symbolized by the 7 planets that were visible to them at that time. And the Aleph, Mem, and Shin have a couple of set references, one of which the Shin is fire, the Aleph is the air, and the Mem is the waters.
Yeah.
So it's the idea of we are a representation of the universe. This is why when it says the Book of Mormon contains the lesser portion, it's not because it's less than. It means it's a microcosm. It has to do with us as a pattern of the universe. That's why you can't get the things up there until you receive the things down here, of which we are a pattern. Our own physical bodies are a pattern.
Okay, so I felt like that was a lot right there.
That was a lot.
That was a lot.
But it was awesome.
Real quick, the doubles, the 7 doubles. You're talking about 7 double letters.
Yeah, 7 double letters.
Okay, so like there's Seen, Sheen, or
So,
what are the double
so
letters?
oh my gosh, I always have to give me the doubles. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
you
there's
put me on the
Tav,
spot.
Tet,
Tav,
Charlie,
Tet.
Het, Kof.
Yes,
Our
Kof.
Kuf, Kof, another
Kuf.
double.
All right, I'm gonna have to look them up now because I always have to remember my doubles.
Yeah, I don't
It's
remember.
all good.
But lol the yigs, I like your comment. That's very funny.
Did you count Bet and Vav?
Let's see.
Don't
Bet and
wanna
Vav, Bet and Vav, yes.
Oh yeah, no one.
I'm not on the
secret
internet.
combination of translations.
So, okay, but his question, he said that the name of God is encoded in the solar system, Yod He Vav He. I feel like you kind of like, yeah, it's that. What does he mean by that? What do you mean
Well,
by
okay, so it depends. Well, I don't know what he means by that, but what I can say is that in both the Zohar and earliest Kabbalistic tradition, the name of God is a constituent parts. It can be permuted into various, like 4 factorial will create, I think it's I think it's 16 different permutations. Is that right?
From 2?
4 times 3 times 2 times 1?
8, 6, yeah, 16.
Yeah,
4
16.
different organs.
So it one of the earliest teachings talks about there being the permutations have to do with various orders or organizations of things in our solar system, but I'm not exactly sure all of what he's asking. If he's talking about is the whole thing contained there? Well, it should be, because the name of God at the very top of everything is the epitome of all the other letters combined.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
So anyway, we could get really
It's all good.
esoteric on that one, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's get back to this. So he has his vision. And he sees the stars. So already we're looking at stars in the first chapter of First Nephi. We left off at verse 10. Is there anything else from that initial vision we want to hit?
And just notice what he says. He says he saw 12 others following him, and their brightness you see that of the stars in the firmament. So you see that stellar imagery.
Yeah.
Okay. And I love how he says it. And they came down and went forth upon the face of the earth. When you see stars, it's the idea of them coming down upon the face of the earth, or like it says, like you'll see in the New Testament, the stars of heaven fell to the earth. It means they're passing below the horizon.
Yeah.
It means they're no longer be able to be seen. Okay. So these others passed below the horizon, but there's one that came and stood before him, and when he's seeing this particular constellation, this is the interpretation or the book that he is given. So the idea is, it says, and gave unto him a book and bade that he should read. Now we get the imagery if he's giving him a scroll or something like that. The heavens go through and through they roll to and fro as if they are a scroll. That's just your scroll symbolism. Or the heavens are seen as like a ginormous Torah scroll. And then the idea being, this message that he's getting from what he's seeing in the stars, God is revealing to him, I'm about to show you something. And he's using the stars to do it. So this is typical of ancient Israel prophetic practice. It's not astrology. It's basically saying, because another way of describing it is that we all, in Mormonism, we wear garments, right?
Yeah.
The heavens are God's garments, and I know it sounds funny, but one of the traditions is the heavens are his garments, and the stars are the lights that come through that veils his glory from us. But that's what sheds forth, because that's all we were able to bear at this time. And so the idea being is, he's seeing the stellar imagery, and it's communicating to him. God is revealing something.
And we're looking at the signs in God's garments. And those tell a story similar to the coat of many markings that that Joseph receives, and these signs and symbols that we have in our garments as well. Okay.
Man, Joseph Smith got so lucky.
Yeah, I know.
Like
10 different levels of understanding. Like in a real Hebrew way, he's able to just put all this together.
That's the thing that's coolest to me as you're reading through this and helping us understand some of your background. It's like, oh, this is not how you would expect an 1830s farm boy to start off a counterfeit. Like that. This seems like a astonishingly sophisticated way to do that, and then to never draw any attention to it, right?
Well, and it's also one of those things that when you look at it, you're going, I know that people will say to me, oh, he made it up, and I'm over going, oh, you don't know what you don't know. I get it. You don't know what you don't know, but I just sit back and shake my head going, no, what you don't understand is the intricacy of this book and what it really contains is far more than anything that you've ever considered, because it is not written by a group of Christians. It is written by ancient Israelites, and they know their system, part of which we can talk about here, especially with his dream. So one of the things that you want to look at besides "and he dwelt" or "and dwelt," which is a prophetic marker. The other one is or sometimes it's translated as stretched, but it's "and pitched," or pitched their tent.
Pitch their tent.
So when you get to the pitch their tent, now you know you're really looking at the astronomical symbol, and there's a whole teaching regarding various things. If you have like Word Cruncher or some type of word search thing in the Book of Mormon, put in pitched and go through every single one. Every one you see will have an astronomical symbol associated with it in the Book of Mormon. Same thing with "and dwelt," and there's another one called "and traveled," but that has to do with something else.
Why is pitched? What is that in Hebrew, and why is that a marker?
So we learn the markers from the Sefer Bahir it's associated with Exodus 14:19-21, where Moses parts the Red Sea hither and thither kind of thing. So the idea behind it is that at the beginning of each of those verses, he's giving you a remez, or a small verse, to indicate to refer you back to it. So, and traveled, and dwelt, and pitched or stretched are the three markers that are considered three prophetic markers that in the rest of the Torah or other Hebrew literature should say, hey, this is connected to this.
Okay.
So when you see dwelt in a tent, pitched their tent, and traveled, and there's a few other things with that one, but what you're seeing is he's referring to you to teachings of the Mishkan, the tabernacle in the wilderness, and specifically stellar imagery based upon signs in the heavens.
Cosmos. Yeah. Cool.
Okay. I want to.
You got something salacious to
share-
say again?
This is not racy. I have a non-racy thing to say. I want to share an observation that this is like a sidetrack, and I apologize in advance for it. But like, it's just a thing that I've noticed, and like, I don't know if it's anything actually. Okay. So, at least once, you got to read the Book of Mormon with the original chapter divisions, because our chapter divisions hide stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was doing this once. I generally read it with the original chapter divisions. So I was reading once, and I was in the Apocalypse of Nephi, which is chapters 11 to 14, and I realized, oh man, this has a structure. This vision has a structure, and putting it into 4 chapters hides the structure. The structure is this: Nephi's guide says, "Look," and Nephi says, "I looked and I beheld," and that divides one scene from the next in this vision.
Yeah.
And I went through and counted, and it was a little bit weird because it looked like it was going to land right on 12, and it didn't. It had 11 that were basically perfect. The Spirit said, "Look," I looked and I beheld. And then I had 2 that were like both close. Like, I think, I haven't looked at this in like a couple of years. I think in one of them, it has like one half, and the other has the other half, right? Like the Spirit said, "Look," a thing, you know, and I looked and I beheld. So like, I thought, man, that's really interesting. I thought for a minute it was going to have 12 perfect scenes in this chapter, and instead it has sort of 12 ambiguously 13. Mm-hmm. But then I started thinking, okay, that's actually pretty interesting, because First Nephi 1, you know, how many stars does he see? Well, 12 ambiguously 13 is 13 if you count the one like a sun as a star, right? So okay, that's kind of interesting. And then I thought, well, how many tribes of Israel are there? And like,
Well, kind of.
12. Kind of ambiguously 13.
They're
What do you do
Right.
with those Levites?
Yeah.
So, how many apostles are there in the New Testament? Well, man, it depends on what you count, because they replace, in Acts, they replace Judas. So do we know 12 kind of 13 apostles?
Well, you know, it's kind of like in the Zodiac. You
And-
have Ophiuchus, who goes in and out.
That's exactly where I was going. How many constellations are on the ecliptic? The answer is there are 12 that are in the constellation, but there's a 13th constellation called Ophiuchus. There are... We call them 12 because we divide them into 30-degree arcs, and they occupy a full circle. But there is a 13th constellation in the zodiac, and by the way, he's a big giant. He's naked. He's wearing a snake around his middle.
The serpent bearer.
He's the serpent bearer. That's what his name means, Ophiuchus. By the way, how many months are there in a lunar calendar year?
13.
12, ambiguously 13, right? And I was like, this is very weird, right? Like, it's actually, so it's this kind of, you know,
Because it's 13 if you
microcosm.
go by the moon, right?
Yeah.
If you go
It's
by
because
the moon.
if you do
Divide it.
29-day leap months
Yeah.
or months, so lunar months, you have to put in a leap month from time to time. A
Yeah.
second Adar, is that right?
Yeah,
The second
Adar
day.
Bet.
Yeah, Adar Bet. A leap month instead of a leap day.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's actually super interesting. That this sort of 12 ambiguously 13 which is like a weird number, seems to exist on kind of multiple levels. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to share.
No, that's
Sorry.
good.
Isn't it
is-
weird?
it is
I don't know what
weird.
to make of that. It's just weird.
It's 12-13 thing.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
it's easy to
remember,
find things in 7.
on
But
the-
like to find...
You know, on the Enochian calendar is 13th months.
Yeah.
Okay, the Jubilean calendar was originally a 13-month calendar.
Yeah.
So I have a theory on this one that basically we as human beings usually screw everything up at some point, or something changed on the earth. So my thing is, I think perhaps during the times of what we would consider the time of Enoch, we probably did have a very different equator with a very different evolution, where Ophiuchus would have been a clear part of a 13th potential thing, possibly. And then something happened, and now we get 12 and a half, which, kind of pumps up every now and then because we're on a little bit of a wobble, I guess. Yeah. But the idea being...
28,000 year wobble? What did Cameron say? That the whole procession of equinoxes?
Yeah.
24,000? Something like that.
It's like 24,200.
Cameron, correct us.
I think it's like 2,200 years in one age. Something like that. It's more than 24, I think.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's weird about the scriptures is there's a lot of things like that where I don't necessarily know what they mean exactly. Like, I think I know what they mean sometimes, and then I see something that like completely undermines what I thought it meant. So, for example, one of the things is this idea of like the scapegoat and the Yahweh's goat. There's all, like, in all of these stories throughout the Bible, there are these two, and one of them kind of prepares the way, and the other one, it like comes and is the way and is the one, like, it's just, there's all these weird motifs, and sometimes you think you have a theory of like this is why, but then one of the stories you look at and you're like, well, that doesn't fit the mold, so maybe I'm not seeing it right. It's just, it's interesting how the scriptures are.
2160, that's Cameron, 2160 per age, 26,000 years. Yeah, thank you for that.
That's the great year.
And by the way, the Vulgedon, if you've got, I have Kaplan's translations. I frankly have not sat down to read the Hebrew. If you think there's a translation you prefer, I'd certainly be interested to hear it.
Hey, Brendan, let's read. There was one super chat, wasn't there?
Well, yeah. So Cameron Coleman, he super chatted in. He actually put a question in here. Let's do this one first real quick because it's not a question. This is fascinating. Thank you. Thanks for
Mary
the support,
Lou.
Mary Lou.
Thank you, Mary Lou.
Yes.
So Cameron asked if, Rob, you can explain the word Mazzaroth and how it's associated with the ordinances.
Ooh. Well, the ordinances of heaven, the Mazzaroth, are sometimes...
Doesn't that mean constellation, Mazzaroth?
Yeah, or cycle.
Cycle, okay.
As one of its meanings. What's interesting about the Mazzaroth is it's the idea of something that it carries with it something circular. So when we talk about the Mazzaroth, or as you're going to hear it traditionally in Judaism, you're referring to the zodiac.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I refer to it, that's what I refer to. Now, the idea of it as an ordinance in heaven has to go with times and seasons. These are the appointed times of Israel, the 7 appointed feasts, like Passover, Habikarim, the counting of the Omer plays a role, Shavuot, all the way till the fall feasts, and you get into the Feast of Trumpets, Yom Teruah, and all these others. So we use these as ordinances, and it's not used in the typical Mormon sense of the word of an ordinance. It's used in the sense of these are patterns and things that are consistent in the heavens that we lay out these appointed times by. Now, during those appointed times, specific
ordinances,
what we would call ordinances or rituals, are done. So we know that there are certain patterns and certain cycles that follow the movement of the sun through the zodiac, or the zodiac's appearance throughout the year.
Interesting.
It makes me think of when Lehi is looking up into heaven and sees God surrounded by these concourses of angels.
Yeah.
A word that basically means rings, right? Like,
yeah. And it's like, and if you think about it,
together.
Yeah. And the imagery is here's really where the imagery comes from. So if you think about the 72 names of God, 72 times 5 degrees each, gives you a 360 degree circle. The center of the circle is considered the name of God, and whereas all the names of the angels are reminiscent of the stars, various constellations. Same thing with the Moses tabernacle. You had 70 elders around about, but everybody forgets there's always 2 that stayed in the encampment. So there's actually 70 and 2 elders. Same thing with the certain aspects, certain translations of the New Testament. Did Christ call the 70, or did he call the 70 and 2?
Yeah.
And the idea being is the pattern of heaven is not really the 70 per se, as it is the 72, because imagine you're laying on the ground, you're seeing everything above in a circle, and the throne of God would be like your galactic center, and then you take everything like a pie cut of 5 degrees, and that's how they're dividing the heavens.
oh, interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, let's get to. Can we get to Lehi's Tree Life Vision, or
You bet.
or
Do you want to do it from Nephi's, or do you want to do it from start with
whichever
Lehi's?
one's going to give us the best information?
Ooh, okay. I like Lehi's to start. I always do both, but
Yeah.
let's see. Let me find his. I was looking over at 8 in Nephi's version. I always have to look. Where does Lehi's version start out at?
Lehi.
You mean you have
Lehi.
Chapter
You mean
8.
you have
It's-
the lost 116 pages?
Yeah, that's what I'd really like to get into, is that 116 pages.
It makes me so angry, bro. I'm gonna have to forgive Martin Harris because like I just
It's his brother,
I'm really
his son-in-law or something, isn't it? Right?
Keeping you from the celestial kingdom.
I know, dude.
Allegedly.
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 Hey, he's dead. We can't defame the dead.
Not if you try.
Let's
hard enough.
see. I'm trying to find it here in my
Dude.
my scriptures here.
Okay.
Hey guys, I'm a little brain fried this afternoon after we talked all day.
Yeah.
Where does
sorry.
it chart? Where does it start? It's 3,
Yeah, First Nephi 8.
and then let's see. Where's Lehi's version start? 8 is Nephi's, isn't it?
No,
So-
8 is Lehi.
So
8 is Lehi.
8 is the tree of life. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I might be getting mixed up.
Okay, so it starts in verse.
Using Orson Pratt's chaptering, of course.
Oh my gosh.
I think it's like 4 or something in the real chapters.
Told because of the things.
Don't quote me on that.
Chapters.
Here we go. Oh, there we go. Okay, now I'm here. All right, yeah, it is 8. Sorry. A little bit brain fried this afternoon or this evening.
No worries.
Okay.
I'll make you feel less brain fried with this joke.
Uh-oh.
The 12 and 13.
Oh, yeah.
Cut that in half. What does that turn out to be?
6-7.
6-7.
I
What,
hate you so
what are
much.
we doing? These Zoomers have caught on to something here.
This isn't
This is where it's
Yeah, this is not Ward Radio, man.
it's where it comes from. The
Dave was
Zoomers
so
have been.
ready for that.
We only have highbrow. Highbrow
I have
jokes
kids
here.
in college.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dave.
That's awesome.
Well, okay, so here's something to consider. They all came down to the tent of their father, and he's had this amazing vision here. And I love how it starts out with what seems to have no connection whatsoever. It came to pass that we gathered together all manner of seeds of every kind, both of grain of every kind, and also seeds of fruit of every kind. Okay, so I'm going to kind of give you an idea. This is Kabbalistically, and then in the Zohar, these mention of the seeds of every kind. It's meant to hearken you back to the Garden of Eden. The fruits every tree produces after the fruit of its kind. So you're looking at an Edenic vision, okay? And it came to pass that while my father tarried in the wilderness, he spake unto us, saying, dreamed a dream, or in other words, I have seen a vision. And then, of course, he goes on and says, 2 of my sons are going to make it, and 2 of them suck.
Yeah.
And no, here's where I was right.
That's a good translation.
That's
I
right.
like your translation.
And it came to pass that I saw a man, and he was dressed in a white robe, and he came and stood before me. Now, this is what in one tradition we call the angel of the klipot. The klipot basically it's like called sometimes the shells or the husks. It has to do with the sitra akra, in other words, the opposite side, the world of the spirit, the world of chaos. Okay, so you know that your fact that, so when you see this man, I've heard some people make some really interesting things that, this is Satan or this, like that. Well, it doesn't quite fit in Hebrew symbolism. What it is an angel that is intentionally placed there to lead you into this experience where one of 2 things happens. Either you bond with God and proceed, or you turn back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So the idea being, he says, told him to follow him. And he says, he said, I beheld myself that I was in a dark and dreary waste. The dark and dreary waste, again, your Setra Akra, which meaning the opposite side. It's that world of chaos. Okay? And after traveled for the space of many hours, I began to pray unto the Lord that he have mercy upon me, according to his multitude of tender mercies. Okay, translation, I'm in a fix here. And he's at that darkness where the dark and dreary waste and everything's around him. Okay, and it says, after he prayed to the Lord, I beheld a large and spacious field. Anytime you see that field thing, you have a couple of symbols going on. Symbolically, you're going to be thinking of this is a creation epic in the fields of what we would call like Eden. But more so, it's just even more important, when you see that concept of the spacious field, he is introducing you to a bonding teaching, devakut in Hebrew, of bonding with God. In other words, this is an actual, he's teaching you his practices, what we would call a meditative practice that he engages in. and he's talking, hey, this is part of how I'm going to teach you to bond with God. So when you see the idea of a field, it's like Isaac in the field. He's out meditating at night, bonding with God, and he sees Rebecca afar off.
Yeah.
All of these are visionary in nature.
Okay.
Okay.
And one thing I want to point out is like you pointed out that some people look at this person in the white robe as like, I've heard the same thing. People are like, oh, this is like a bad spirit leading him to darkness, right?
Yeah.
Where I like your interpretation, because it's more like we assume this guy is bad because he takes Lehi to a place where he then has to call upon God. But if you look at this from like a temple experience, like he is just the person that is taking Lehi through this experience, right? Like,
Right.
Just because it's something from God doesn't mean that it has to be pleasant all the time, right?
Your psychopomp, your hierophant, your initiating priest has now taken you to Salmavet, the land of shadow of death.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Here's a question that this brought to mind as we were talking about it. Gathering together their seeds and of grain of every kind, and then you mentioned the symbolism of this man in white being associated with husks. Would this signal that this is around harvest time or anything like that, or is that going a step too far?
Well, take it in a different direction, only because the idea being, you could certainly, these are harvesting symbols, but the idea, what they want to communicate is that we're meant to connect this to an Eden frame, a picture of Eden.
Gotcha.
Every seed that produces after its kind. So there's a whole teaching and a slew of teachings regarding the seed and the planting of a seed, which is the planting of a word in Hebrew. So, and I'm not talking about even Alma's little thing, which amazingly enough, we could get on another time, but but it's the idea is he's basically saying, hey, I have used these discipline of bonding with God as a prophet, and I've had this vision. In this vision, basically we have the angel of the Klipot, or the angel of the Sitra Achra. That goes by different names, but he appears in white. It's not Satan. It's meant to guide him, and also to be a protection to him. Because in the world of the opposite side, the upside down, there are good things and there are bad things.
And the only way you can beat him is by coming out of the closet. That is what we learned from Stranger Things. You haven't. Yeah, that's that. So 5 seasons, 10 years. How are we going to stop the upside down from taking over the world? It's by Will, the main character, coming out of the closet. That's how he gets his power to be able to.
Certainly not what I expected.
Wait, really?
From season 1.
Yeah. So the way we save the world is by being
That's
gay.
serious, yeah.
But
He hasn't even watched it. He's just going off what I told him.
yeah.
Oh man.
But it's kind of crazy. However, getting back on it.
I also have not seen it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I stopped watching after season 2.
Yeah, I watched Critical Drinker talk about it, and I trust him. He's like a movie prophet. Keeps you on the straight and narrow. But
Subscribe to Critical Drinker.
yeah, subscribe to Critical Drinker. So one thing that I want to point out as you're talking about this Edenic language and all that stuff is, and I've always liked this interpretation, Greg Mattson from Quick Media, he puts Lehi's vision as kind of like the second part of the vision of the Garden of Eden, of the Tree of Life.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, you start in the garden at the tree, then you're cast out into the dark and dreary wilderness, and then Lehi starts in the dark and dreary wilderness and ends up at the Tree of Life. So it's kind of the bookend. The Tree of Life is the bookend to this story. Right?
It's the reverse fall.
It's a reverse fall. That's what he's showing us, which is the ascent.
The ascent.
All what the Kabbalah and all that is
all
about. It's about ascending.
Well, it's also the answer to the question, can Adam have both life and wisdom? And the answer is yes, because the fall is not the end.
But only if he stops blaming Eve.
Yeah.
I am with you on that.
All right. So here's something we need to understand. So there's a couple of symbols we need to understand that are kind of a double symbol. So the Tree of Life, okay, the branches are considered a canopy with the fruits. It's many fruits with at least, and in some traditions, and you'll see in the Book of Revelation, in fact, having 12 fruits. So we need to understand that in many ways, the canopy of the tree is the stars above. It's the heavens above us. It's considered the canopy of the tree. Now, it's symbolized by an actual tree, which we use a tree symbol. But when you know that one is associated with the other, then you begin to see that, wait a minute, okay, all of these things, everything that we see in the heaven is an extension or a symbol of the branches of the tree of life. Mm-hmm. So all the constellations, all the varying stars are considered fruits, branches, or offshoots of the tree of life.
Yeah, the 7-branch menorah is the tree of life, but at the same time, it is the 7 visible planets.
Yep.
And it is the what's the word? The axis. It is the axis of the earth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Interesting.
So then he says, and I partook of the fruit thereof. It filled my soul with exceeding joy. Actually, I missed one. It came to pass that I go forth and partake of the fruit thereof, and I beheld that it was most sweet above all that I had ever tasted. And I beheld that the fruit thereof was white to exceed up all the whiteness. Lavan ha'elion, the supernal whiteness is what that's called, that I had ever seen. The supernal whiteness is what the tree is described as in Hebrew.
And when you say that Hebrew phrase, where does that come from?
Well, Lavan is like, it
White.
means like a celestial white.
Mm-hmm.
Ha'elion, the whiteness or the light of God.
Mm.
So where does it actually come from? That's a good one. I don't know where. I just always heard it.
Oh,
But it's Lavan ha'elion. The meanings. The tree is an expression of the light of God. So like when you see Laban, Lavan, you're going to see a connection between a mighty one, okay, who symbolizes a mighty or an angelic figure of some type. Man, not so good in this case, and now you see the same symbolism being used in the tree. Mm-hmm. So when you understand that these are also describing like the light of the stars or the stellar light, which symbolizes God's light, that's the Lavan ha'elion, the supernal whiteness. Mm-hmm. Okay, and he says of course it makes him to experience this exceedingly great joy, and the idea behind the fruit is that it sweetens, like for example, one of the things that sweetens judgment. So the love of God. Ha'elion is the sap of the tree. It comes through and it sweetens the sephira of judgment, gavura, okay, and that's your iron branch, that's your iron rod that extends forth from the tree, and that's symbolized by the planet Mars.
Yeah. So I mean the tree. So right there you have justice and mercy right there.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because when you first said the iron rod could be coming from justice, right? I was just like, I don't know, that doesn't really seem. But the more I think about it, like, what is the Word of God? The Word of God is His command. It is the eternal law. It is in the end justice because.
Well, it's judgment and severity. Justice is an offshoot that we connect with.
Sorry, judgment. Sorry, I didn't mean justice. I meant judgment.
Interesting.
So, but it is judgment. What are we judged by? We're judged by the Word of God. And so then when we hold on to this judgment, even though we are going to fall short, we will eventually come to the tree which will sweeten it, and that's where mercy.
Well, and see, another symbol. This is where symbols between cultures get mixed up.
Yeah.
From our culture in America, that makes complete sense.
For sure.
From a Hebraic culture, when you're talking about judgment, we're talking about instruction. We're talking about the idea of it can be severe if you go past the bounds.
Yeah.
But the idea of him sweetening judgment or an iron rod being extended from the tree, shooting forth from the tree and running from it, it's kind of the idea is you're going to take hold of God's judgment, which could be His Torah, His scriptures, and you're going to hold on to that until it brings you to partake of the fruit
That even
of the
works
tree.
better. That even works way better than having, but like that sort of judgment. If the judgment, I mean, that is the Word of God.
Yeah, it's not the beat you over the head kind of judgment.
Yeah.
It could be if a person or things become imbalanced. In other words, someone gives themselves over to a lawless life, then they're going to face the ramifications of judgment unfettered.
But yeah, just like how judgment has two meanings in English, like it just barely, judgment. There's that judgment, and then there's judgment of having good judgment.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that expression,
The Word of God.
that we see coming from there. So, it says that he saw, Sariah, Sam, and Nephi, and they all going through, and they all partake, and of course Laman and Lemuel. Well, you know how they do. And then I love it how he talks about this river. Now, most people don't realize there was a river that ran through Eden, and so that should again should give you the idea that the river. Now I think it's Nephi that talks about the description of the water of the river being filthy, but that it came from a fountain that ran into the tree. So it became filthy because of corruption. Okay. Let's see. Let's go down a little bit.
Nephi does say that twice. He says that it's in his vision, but he also explains it to Laman and Lemuel.
Yeah.
But where the water is at the tree, it's
good.
It's described as being the love of God. So it's hard to imagine that at that point he saw it as filthy.
Yeah.
By the way, there's an interesting connection with the Sefer Bahir here.
Pull a mic closer to you, by the way.
There's a little connection with the Sefer Bahir here. There's a passage which talks about the Israelites at Marah on the Exodus, and the Marah means bitter, and the water there is bitter. And what Exodus says, this is Exodus 15, I don't know, verse 25 or something, that Moses, God shows Moses, I think it says God shows Moses an etz, like a wood thing, a tree, and he puts it in the water, and it makes the water matok, sweet. The Sefer Bahir has a comment on this passage and says that was the tree of life.
Yeah.
And he says, but then but then Satan came along and hid the tree of life, so the Israelites couldn't find it.
Yep.
After that.
I love these stories.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
So it turns bitter water. The thing that turned the bitter waters into sweet
was the tree of life.
Because the etz just means wood. So like the stick of Joseph, for example, is an etz.
Is an etz. Yep, correct.
And then, but also when you're just talking about a tree, it's an etz.
It's just an etz. That's the standard word for it. Yep.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Yep.
Cool.
So, like I said, and it comes down, and like I said, we're just summarizing. I hope it's okay. We'll skip around a little bit. I'm trying to leave the stuff out about the whole Laman and Lemuel thing, only because, we already know kind of the thing there. But the idea is and I beheld a rod of iron, okay, and it extended along the bank of the river and led to the tree by which I stood. And like we said, our common or imagery of that is somebody holding to a handrail as it falls up to the tree.
Yeah.
Hebraically, it connects more to the idea of a branch or vine that extends from the tree, and there is an actual iron branch on the tree of life. That's Gevuda, and its metal is iron, and it's symbolized by Mars.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's that judgment you're holding to, and as we go up, and then it says, and they beheld a straight and narrow path. Now the straight and narrow path is interesting because the straight gate is at the base of the tree along Yesod, which is the center pillar of the tree, and of course it flows up. You ascend up. The center pillar is the straight narrow path, really, that leads up to it.
Meaning you avoid retracing the path of the lightning bolt.
Exactly.
Which you're not showing here, but you showed us on a previous conversation, which we will air later.
Yes.
And just go up the center straight.
Exactly. So the idea is there are other paths, some of which are forbidden. You don't want those paths. We want the center pillar. We want the path of balance, the faith, hope, charity path.
Oh, interesting.
And faith, hope, and charity in Hebrew does not mean the same things that it means in English.
What does it mean?
Yeah, let's go down that
Okay,
rabbit
well,
hole.
faith. Okay, in Hebrew, things don't always get translated well. We think because you'll hear people, they'll say, well, how do I believe more?
Yeah.
Okay, that has nothing to do with Hebrew. Faith is a creative act. It's an act of spiritual creation. And hope is not wishful thinking. It's the idea of what I have created with God now exists. It's like when Christ said, when you pray, go your way as it has been done to you. Behold, it's kind of done. That's the concept. Tikva, that's the kind of the concept, is that you're going to go forward as if this has been created. This is that God has granted the blessing. And of course, charity, I love the Book of Mormon's definition of charity, because instead of being thinking of like tzedakah, which is like acts of charity, which is part of it, it's the idea of it's a condition of being, which Christ symbolizes. There's seeking not your own, not being puffed up, those type of things that Moroni talks about. One of the best definitions of charity Hebraically I've ever seen.
Oh, awesome.
But
man, we could do a whole episode on that.
Just that. That's really cool.
But I love how it says that, they beheld a straight and narrow path which came along by the rod, even to the tree by which I stood, and of course by the head of the fountain unto a large and spacious field. Again, there's your spacious field, as if it had been a world. Translation. Now here's where you get the idea of it had been a world. It's connected to the Hebrew concept in Genesis of tohu and vohu, when the world was left emptied and desolate. Okay? As if something had happened. Everything in Hebrew is cyclical. So what we think we see in Eden has probably existed before. What we see in Bountiful as a symbol of Eden, the land of Bountiful in 3 Nephi, is a pattern of what went on in Eden and most likely a pattern of what will go on again. These cycles and patterns repeat. I mean, how many times do you have to rewrite a movie? Like, it's like Marvel writing all the movies over and over again.
Like 12 or 13.
Yeah. What version are we on now? You know,
Marvel, I think it's over 30.
is that what it is?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I stopped watching that a long time ago.
I know. Well, they after Endgame, which makes sense to be the end. Now they have the new one. So
Yeah.
So these numerous concourses of people go pressing forward. Go back to the idea of the Shevarat Klepot, and being the shattering of the vessels. Guess who that is? We are the fragmentary. All of us are the shattered vessels that couldn't fully contain God's light at the very beginning. It's the vessels of the Adam Kadmon, or that kind of thing, that could not contain the full light of God, and the vessel shattered, and it shattered into what became fractures. And in some tradition, the idea is that we're the fractures.
we are the fractures.
We have to become illuminated, and we have to be gathered in and reformed.
We have to gather up the sparks, right?
Yeah, gotta gather the
This is a
sparks.
Leonard Cohen lyric too. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in.
Yep. So the idea, and I've had a lot of people ask me about this, it's like, it's hard to go through Lehi's vision without going through some of the concepts, because the river of water, if you look at it astronomically, the river of water is the Milky Way.
Yeah.
And it also can represent the Eden above, or the new. That's why I say when it says Eden or a New Jerusalem or the Jerusalem above, Bountiful, it's a heavenly pattern. There's a pattern here on earth, of course.
Yeah.
What's here on earth, but it's reflecting something above. So that river that feeds the garden, there's your Milky Way symbolism.
And then the tree of life itself, is that the zodiac itself, the 12 constellations?
It's the part of it's considered part of the fruit or the branches, but it's not all of it.
Okay.
Okay, so you're kind of looking at it like there's this idea we should have called the world tree. I think they even called it in some cultures Yggdrasil.
Yeah, Yggdrasil is the world tree in Norse.
Yeah. So you have these concepts of this idea of a world tree. Now there may have been a large tree at one time, for all we know, but the concept being is that everything you see is in a tree up above. It's like when Joseph saw the ravens landing in the tree. What did he really see? Well, was he really seeing ravens, or was he really seeing a symbol of a different type of sign in the heavens landing in the tree, or something like that? Different things of what makes the branches of the tree. Well, the branches of the tree, or the canopy of the tree, can be the heavens.
Yeah.
Okay, it could be a literal tree. It can be us. We are smaller versions of the tree.
Yeah.
I think there's a I don't know, Cameron's watching. It'd be interesting to see if he has a different thought.
Yeah.
I don't think that there is a astronomical orthodoxy, meaning I don't think that over the course of history all of God's prophets have used the night sky to communicate exactly the same
thing.
In other words, they may have seen different constellations and stuff. So on the one hand, like there's plenty of evidence that I said this earlier, the tree of life is the menorah. It's got 7 lights. What are they? The 7 visible pre-Copernican planets, right? That's the sun, the moon, and the 5 what we think of as planets you can see. That is an image that exists, and people can you as a speaker, as an interpreter, you can use this image. Hey, so that's 12 fruit. That's 7 fruits in the tree of life. By the way, Revelation 22 says that there are 12 fruits. By the way, King James says types of fruits. It's not types of. They inserted those words. It's just 12 fruits, right? And Rob suggests, and I think this is right, that you can see that it's the same fundamental image. The tree is the cosmic axis of the earth / the night sky, and you're seeing sort of the 12 constellations of the zodiac. I don't think either one of those is right or wrong. I think the night sky is a kind of a palette. It's got so many possible ways to interpret it that you the prophet, I'm not saying, Brad Whitbeck 2028, but, I'm not saying it, could impose different readings on it, right?
Yeah.
It's a communicative tool. It's a mnemonic tool, a memory tool.
Yeah.
Or maybe this is a very long-winded way to say that, as I think is often the case, we have to embrace the possibility of and. Here is one reading, and here is another reading.
Yeah.
They can both be right.
Which is what Nephi effectively tells Laman and Lemuel after when they say, what does this mean? Is it spiritual or temporal? He's like, yeah, and.
It is.
Really.
Well, also the fact, man, I just love that passage because Nephi says, I want to know about the tree of life. He gets a vision that is 4 chapters long. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Then his brothers go, what is the tree? The answer is one verse, is the tree of life.
No.
Because Laman and Lemuel aren't ready for the other answers, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, look, just to say, man, the astronomy stuff is fascinating. I love it. Super interesting. I think we need to remain open to sort of like the possibility that one prophet would sort of use one image while another would use a different image, and not be discombobulated if we see that. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Keep it flexible.
But what's interesting is that there are 22 base prime or primal symbols used in ancient Israel, and they follow the patterns of the Hebrew letters. They are actual images, which unfortunately later became tarot. But this, you know what I'm saying? They that became that.
Are there 22 tarot cards?
They're for the major. I think it's the major arcanum, the top 22, the ones.
Yeah.
They pattern it off the Hebrew alphabet, but that's a later development that's not related. But there were where they're getting it from, and it wasn't meant to tell the future like that. It was the fact that there were these symbols symbolized by the 22 letters that were to help you decipher God's understanding of the heavens.
Huh.
Okay.
Interesting. A lot to chew on. I think, one of the things, and we talked about this after we recorded our last episode. I was telling Dave this, but a lot of this stuff, like even with the stars, it's like I know there's something there, but more than anything, it's like the talking about it, the visualizing it, it helps you to like digest things that are kind of ineffable. Like you can't actually explain, like when you're explaining these different things, like I understand them, but I can't explain how I understand them. You know what I mean? And that's kind of a lot with these stars and with a lot of the stuff that we talk about.
That was a big part of the discussion we had with Cameron, which is really interesting, was how our current day world, they really value like left-brained, organized, structured, show me the data of why you believe what you think, right?
Yeah.
Where there's like this whole other side. And I was kind of thinking about it as you were showing us the tree of life with the Sephiroth, right? With the two sides of it and how you kind of need both. They balance each other out in this way, right? And like, I think this intuitive side of things is a valid way to receive inspiration, and you got to do some work to parse it out and figure it out, have the Spirit guide you in helping you understand truth. But I think we totally devalue that in the way that we currently operate in society. And so, I think it's a cool thing.
I agree.
We got to use that. We got to find a way to help it bring us closer to God.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we have
pausing. Oh, Dave, go ahead. Sorry.
He's just
So
gonna
when
do
we
super
have an
chats.
apocalypse,
Yeah.
we have an apocalypse, and I've lost all the books, and I have to teach my kids this stuff, I'm going to point out the circumpolar stars that never go away, and a queen and king sitting on a throne, and a serpent, and two beasts, and the river that flows out of it. Right.
Yeah.
Now, if someone else doesn't see things that way or uses some other image, right? Awesome.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let's hit super chats, Brando.
Chat.
We got one
gotta
from
do better.
Jackson
We got to
Wayne.
do better, chat.
Jack
We're having our
W.
own people sending us money. We're super dry on. On the real, Mr. K, how do you still he corrected.
you still-
Qualify for a 0%?
Where can I get a 0% interest loan? If you got it, let me know.
LOL, JK. But truly, how do you think we help our Jewish brothers and sisters open their eyes to know how epic the Book of Mormon is? What did it do for you?
That's a hard one. My background, I have one grandparent that was a Methodist minister, my mother's father. My mother's mother was a Jewish convert to Christianity. Okay, mother's father, Methodist minister. Okay, that's where I get the openness to Christ, was because while one side of the family is acting one way, the other side's acting the other. I've had a lot of people ask me about don't convert Jews. Just don't try. There's no reason to. First off, I'll tell you right now, the biggest hurdle to it is we're not talking the same language. I had a friend of mine here, and he was in the church, and he wanted me to teach him the Torah. And I said, no, you really don't. And he's like, oh, yeah, I do. And I said, okay, I'll teach you some. But I said, but be careful. Well, but they didn't understand there is a particular group out there who I will not give advertising to, whose sole goal is to take apart Christians. And it's like I told him, I said, and they took him apart.
Yeah.
Jews have many, especially your Orthodox and strictly observant Jews, have a command of the Scriptures that not one Mormon has.
Yeah.
And it boggles the brain at how good they are.
What is it?
So I always tell them, this is their command of the Word.
Yeah.
Their understanding of not only the original language and their slants on things sound amazing. That's why I said, put them up against a Messianic rabbi, now it levels the playing field.
Yeah.
Or as I say, it takes a fully trained Jedi with the Force as his side to take on Vader and his Emperor, because that's really what you're dealing with. Okay. So that's why I say don't. But here's what we can do. Actions speak louder than words, and fruits speak even more. The Book of Mormon is a restorative text. It's meant to restore the house of Israel. If we want to convert anybody, we need to be the very thing we're trying to convert other people to. If we don't have the fruits, what are we converting them to? So I would say use the Book of Mormon to restore ourselves and bring forth the fruits of God first, and they'll speak for themselves.
And people want to partake of those fruits.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good sign for anybody, not just Jews, but nobody. And this is one thing I've learned slowly over time is don't give advice to people that aren't asking for advice. Don't give unasked for religious. It's not that you shouldn't share your faith, but it's like no one's ever changed their mind or changed their religion because you said, hey, actually you believe this wrong, and I'm going to show you why right now.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. Now, we engage with people online, and we talk about different things, but that's not because we're trying to convince the people. It's because people that are questioning. Yeah, no, because we'll never will.
Oh, shoot.
We'll never convince Jeff Durbin that he's wrong, right? And that Calvinism is, although
never
consistent,
say never.
although consistent, is completely misguided. But what I will say, the reason we do that is for the people that are questioning, that are online, that are open to receive. But you can't force anything down people's throats.
Yeah.
And something I really liked about Jackson's question and the way he phrased it was, how do we help people see how epic the Book of Mormon is, right? And what did it for you, and what helps people see it. I think some of the stuff we're talking about right now is interesting stuff that helps people think oh wow, there is so much in this book. And then that ties directly into what you guys are saying, where as it changes your life, as it changes the fruits that you bring forth as a person, and if people ask, then you're like, hey, it's because of the truths I've learned from this book, right? That's the kind of thing I think that can help people see how epic the Book of Mormon really is.
How did you read the Book of Mormon the first time?
You wrote the truth?
Yeah, I want the truth.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even know it was the Book of Mormon.
Really?
I found a no cover, I think it was a blue one. The one that you saw that had the pictures in it,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, I found it on the bookshelf, and I was looking at the pictures, and I was 15 at the time. And
Arnold Freeberg.
I was like, what is this? And I didn't even know. There's like I said, there's all kinds of stuff I didn't even know. And but I will tell you that what really did it for me. The Book of Mormon, and it's not like it didn't really speak to me, but it spoke to me. There are things in the book, I can't explain it. It's like I don't completely have the words to explain how much the book spoke to me in my background. And as I beheld the things that it contained, I'm over there going, this is not possible. I mean, it's just not. Now, again, many Jews won't even look at it because it has the name of Jesus Christ in it. plain and simple. That's just being dead right honest.
Yeah.
After about 2,000 years of being persecuted, you say the name and they're done. Okay, not all, but there are those who they shut down. Okay, but the reality is, if you look at this from the idea of a Hebrew Messiah or an Israelite Messiah, and what Messiah meant to their culture, and it's not. I mean, there are 4 types of Messiahs, if you will, and who he identified himself as and his teachings, it is far greater than Son of David or Davidic servant, although that's part of it.
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, yeah, he didn't come. Well, you're right. He didn't come with an army like that, but he did come as Son of Man, who is reminiscent of Enoch, who was called Son of Man. And what was his purpose? To restore that element of the Torah, which was meant to return people to the presence of God. It was to restore the presence of God, which is the same purpose of the Book of Mormon.
Yeah.
You know? And what's interesting is that not only is the story beautiful, and people say, oh, it's made up or this. And I'm like, no, it's not possible. Sorry. And that's my judgment call to say.
Yeah.
That's like, if somebody else wants to say that it is, I'm all ears. But at the same time, after what I've seen in the book, I can only say I don't see how it's humanly possible. There's no super genius that could put this together with the levels of Hebrew science, if you will, gematria, basically ancient symbols of the prophetic, ancient disciplines of the prophetic. Our problem is, again, we either read it from our culture, more like Protestant Christians, and at the same time, we don't have the Israelite background or the Hebraic background, because the language plays a big part of it, but there's also an entire culture, their history, the traditions and teachings that have been passed down through various groups that are very rich and that are not only you'll see in the Book of Mormon, you'll see associated with it. So for me, if I were to say a pure book of Scripture that will bring you back to the teachings that God gave to the fathers, it's the Book of Mormon. But it's not the Book of Mormon the way you read it. You have to read it with the Israelite eyeglasses on.
Yeah, put those on. That's awesome.
Most amazing part of that is that you were a 15-year-old pulling a book off a shelf.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
By the way, shout out Latter-day Saints. Link in the description. Cameron Coleman again asks, Judaism and Mormonism are natural complements. Can Mormonism also welcome dual religious identities such as Hinduism,
Zoroastrianism,
Buddhism, etc.?
The answer is actually we have people with these sorts of cases.
Like James Goldberg.
James Goldberg's an interesting case. James and Mattathias.
Who's James Goldberg?
James Goldberg, I don't want to speak for him, but he had a blog called Mormon Midrash.
Oh, yeah, you've told me about him.
And he's a Mormon, but he's a very Jewish kind of Mormon.
Yeah.
But he and his brother are the most genealogically adventurous people I know. They are part Indian Sikh. They are part Mexican polygamous Mormon. They are part Jew. So Mattathias identifies more as a Sikh. They're both Mormons, but one's kind of a Sikh Mormon and one's kind of a Jewish Mormon. And I think, are there boundaries at which some ecclesiastical leader might demand that you make a choice? Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I think the parable of Zenos actually answers that in one of its dimensions, which is you have a master civilization, the original tree.
Yeah.
Okay, that original olive tree is a civilization. And if anybody tells you that you can't have an olive vineyard, or the vineyard was the wrong word, a kerem is the right word, it actually translated it correctly. It's not an orchard. It really is a vineyard, and it's set for what we call the noble fruits. It's really interesting. But besides all that, it's one of those things that if you look at what happened to the tree started to die. The master civilization, which is not Israel itself, as we think of it, began to fall and die.
The ancient tradition. It's the original.
Now what happens is the master, the Lord of the vineyard, takes the branches of the tree and plants them all over these vineyards.
Yeah.
All over the places of his vineyard. And of course, what do? They graft wild tree into a natural and back and forth to bring forth good fruit. And for a while, they did bring forth good fruit. Now, we're at the situation where all fruit is corrupted. It stinketh. It's the Bidashim. It stinketh. It's the stinking thing. all of it, not just some, not just them or the others. It's all of it. Now we've got to bring back the original tree. And so what happens? There were elements or branches that were natural that were grafted into the foreign trees that will now have to come back and be regrafted in. And when they take of the life sap of the original tree, then they can once again produce the correct fruit, the good fruit, the non-stinky fruit. You know,
interesting. Yeah, I think. I mean, because obviously, there are boundaries. Like saying, like you can only be so Jewish and so Mormon because at one point you have to accept Jesus is the Christ, right? And then you have Messianic.
But just remember, you have Messianic Jews.
Yeah. So
I was going to say that.
I think it's kind of.
I know. So then you ask yourself, like, is that Messianic Jews? Is that just a Christian who is of a certain ethnicity? Is it more like their ethnicity is
Depends
Jew?
on who you talk to.
And I know. So like,
So,
that's the question I have.
Yeah, I don't think any of the temple
What are the
recommend
boundaries?
questions would stop you from being a practitioner of yoga or Buddhism or something. I think you would get in trouble if you
Start teaching it.
if that's it, right? Is like if you're sort of taught from the pulpit, hey, we should all set up shrines to worship our ancestors. You're probably going to get in like you can't be like, well, it's my Shinto heritage or something, right? So I think there are margins at which you would probably clash with your leadership, but I think there probably is a lot of room for someone to have more than one affiliation, more than one identity.
Well, remember, you're going to have varying branches from all over the world. And each of these branches had something of truth in them.
Yeah.
So regraft them back in. Take the truth. Mormonism embraces all truth, as Joseph Smith said.
Yeah.
So embrace the truth and leave out the bad stuff.
And there's even a First Presidency statement that was really interesting that talks about how there is truth found in every single one of the world religions, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's a really beautiful way to look at it. That we always look at like the bad side of the apostasy, that like not everyone has every single piece of truth everywhere at all times. But like, hey, hidden in this teaching of apostasy is literally everyone has some form of truth.
Yeah.
That is what they are fighting for. That is what they're holding on to.
Well, actually, and here's the thing, it's very clear. Joseph Smith is very clear in Joseph Smith history what was the abomination. And it's the creeds. The Christian creeds are the abomination that were leading people astray. It wasn't everything. He wasn't saying everything is an abomination. He's saying very specifically, the creeds are an abomination.
The song 6 Feet from the Edge.
Yeah.
Was just keeping everyone.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm 6 feet from the edge and that gives me PTSD. We had every single Friday night, dude, there was some of our buddies in the Marine Corps while we were on deployment would just get hammered drunk and
play Creed.
till like 3 a.m. They would just play Creed, that song, on repeat, and they just scream it down the hallway of the barracks.
So for you, Creed
hated
really
it.
was an
It
abomination.
was an abomination. Except for it's so catchy, man. It hits so good.
You don't think Joseph Smith was talking about Michael B. Jordan?
Michael B. Jordan, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very well could have. But that's the thing is like these creeds were an abomination. They skewed Christianity, and really the focus has been on Christianity. But the thing is, Joseph Smith, when he starts a restoration, he doesn't go just to the time of Jesus, right? He translates the Book of Mormon, and then he doesn't start at the New Testament.
The deeply Hebraic nature of the restoration is one of the super interesting facets of
He
it.
goes to the very beginning. And he goes even outside because you're not going to say
obsessed with Adam and Eve.
Adam's not a
He's
Jew.
obsessed with temples.
You're not going to say Adam's an Israelite. You're not going to say Enoch is an Israelite.
No.
These are the patriarchal.
These are the fathers of Israel.
Actually,
Yes.
this makes me think of something really interesting. I was just studying this morning. In Come Follow Me, it has us read through a portion of one of President Nelson's more recent addresses where he talks about our identity and about how our identity needs to be first and foremost as children of God. And that if we let other identities...
Meaning before I'm a Mormon, or I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Yeah, even before that. Like the first three he gives are that you're a child of God, you're a child of the covenant, and then you're a disciple of Jesus Christ. Like in that order, which was really fascinating to me. And as he's going through, he talks about how like there are identifiers that we can use in a way that limits us. And I think sometimes there's a temptation for us to put things into boxes that limit our ability to understand those things because we assume we know what these boxes mean, right?
Yeah.
And so if we take this piece of truth that we found, but we put it into this box, we might limit that truth from shining further and giving us further knowledge. And so I thought it was a really fascinating talk. I'm trying to remember the name. Let me.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a. I think he did it in at BYU Hawaii or something like that.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
you're talking about it was like to the youth or to the young single adults or something like that.
Yeah. It's Choices for Eternity.
Choices for Eternity.
Yeah, Choices for Eternity.
But yeah, I
So
just
good.
find that to be very, very interesting that he doesn't start with Christianity. He starts from the beginning, right, after the Restoration. And he shows that the creeds themselves obscured the way that we were able to look at God, right? I mean, think about even just with the Trinity, like this hyper extreme monotheism where it's like, okay, they can't actually be three separate beings because obviously it has to be one, where when you look back at the beginning of the fathers, they very much believed in a God family. They believed in the idea of multiple gods. And so like those creeds are the things that have obscured our vision. And so you need to tear those down and then start from the beginning and try to reread the whole thing over again.
Who was it? Was it Jacob Hansen who was talking about one of the reasons that the creeds are troublesome is because they make it not about the fruits of what you do, but they make it about whether or not you are believing the correct thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why the
Now,
Book
this
of
is not, by the way, man, I've had a bunch of discussions recently, and we've had some here on this channel. Different kinds of creedal Christians will understand this different ways, right? Like, for sure, there are some traditional mainstream Christians who read the Sermon on the Mount, and it says, you know, if you hear my sayings and you do them, I will liken you to a wise man. And they go, oh, I have to do some things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Or they read the Epistle of James. It says, care for the widows and the orphans. And they go, oh, I have to do some things.
Uh-huh.
And there are Christians who think, no. What I have to do is believe right. And then naturally, the righteousness will flow out of me. Right?
Which to some degree,
To some degree, I think they're saying the same thing, but they're trying to stick a weird, like Greek philosophical explanation on it, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're sitting in Sunday school class and you're saying to everyone, look, you can't choose righteousness. You just have to accept Christ, and then righteousness will flow out of you. Aren't you really telling them that they should all go do righteous things?
Well,
Yeah,
here's the
I think you really are.
And this is where comes some of the disconnect between what you'll see in Israelite theology versus Christian theology. We subscribe this idea that the Sermon on the Mount is actually a higher law. It's not. It's actually an extension of the original law given. In other words, it's given in context of the Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
So it's like I had the discussion one time with someone, and they said, "Well, no, it's a higher law." And I said, "Why do you say it's higher?" And he goes, "Well," and they said, "Well, you can't even lust after a woman. And if you do, you commit adultery in your heart." And I said, "Okay, now I'm going to approach this Hebraically." And I said, and this is a little off color, but it's basically the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to look at your wife to take her from you. I just want to sleep with her. I'll give her back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that okay? If I do away with the Ten Commandments, that thou shalt not commit adultery, well, I don't want your wife to keep her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to sleep with her and I'll give her back to you. Or better yet, yeah, you're right. Shouldn't get angry, but you know, I can love you enough. I mean, I've seen psychopathic killers basically go through and say, hey, it's an act of love that I'm murdering you.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
And they do believe it. The Ten Commandments are your physical body. The halakha of the
spiritual body.
is your spirit. It takes two together for it to function. So you need action, and you need spirit. So you've got to have both for it to function properly. It's like if your physical body dies, you may have a spiritual body, but it can't function in this world. Same thing. If I have a physical body but it has no spirit, it can't function in this world either.
Yeah.
It takes both.
That's awesome.
Which is kind of exactly how James expresses it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we went down many dirt roads, and it's 9 o'clock now, and I don't want to fall asleep.
I think
when I
we
get
missed
driving home.
A super
more-
chat
There's
is
one more.
one last super chat.
Question. So,
I don't understand this
Talk
one.
of sparks brings human design to mind. Another tie between astrology and Kabbalah interpretations.
I do not know.
I'm not
what that
sure.
means. I will
I-
frankly
They're referring
confess.
to a much earlier part of our conversation. Dave, you mentioned sparks.
Yeah.
In reference to
The Kelly Pote.
yeah.
Well, to be honest, I mean, there are some traditions that do preserve certain teachings that astrology, modern astrology, has co-opted. There are other more ancient traditions that do not look at it as a fortune-telling device or anything like that. It's basically seen as a symbolic understanding of symbols. Where it comes from is this. Our perception as human beings at one time was much greater than what it is now. Okay? Because of that, mankind lost the ability to perceive certain elements of the upper worlds. As a result, it is said, depending on which tradition you believe, that about the time of Abraham, and some attribute to Enoch, but because we lost the ability to perceive the upper worlds, there were still those who could. They were called seers. They could see things we can't. And they still had the gift, but the vast majority of humanity lost the ability. The 22 symbols were created to maintain the imagery so that it could communicate an element of what was lost. So what a seer could see, you could take these symbols and understand in the scriptures what they're trying to tell you, what they're seeing. Whereas, you know, like those people would make fun of Joseph Smith saying, oh, there's people on the moon. Would you believe that even Judaism has a teaching of that?
Oh, really?
And yet it sounds strange, doesn't it? Because are there really people? Well,
Are they Quakers?
that is a good question. They represent an element of beings or an angelic beings. The moon is a symbol for the angelic beings. So did he really see the actual moon, or did he see something that was equated with the moon, and he's describing it to the best of his ability?
That is interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, like from a seer.
Yeah. Seers have a long tradition in Israel. And so people that say, oh, he looked into a stone, get in line. Do you know how many other seers we had?
Yeah.
And they looked at stones?
Yeah.
You know?
12 or 13.
12.
Two sometimes 12, 13.
This is a whole other conversation, but like, it's easy not to be shocked by that stuff if people will just tell it to you when you're young.
Yeah.
And like, yep, he might have looked at a stone and a hat. Some people said that. Others had a different story. Don't know which is true.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
And the ornament tomb is still two stones, guys. Stones are stones.
Right.
Depends on which one you're looking at.
Yeah, it's it's just, man, people who are fully immersed in a modern secular culture and hear these things for the first time when they're 30.
Yeah.
Right?
And it scares them.
And it scares them, and
Well, and I feel like saying, do you know how your other scriptures were written?
Right.
How did Isaiah receive what he received? How did Moses receive it? Okay, yes, you have scribes that write it down. But if I were to tell you some of the traditions that we have of how they received what they received, you'd be throwing the whole books out. Because
really?
Yeah, it sounds like magic.
Huh. What's the tradition for Isaiah? I want to know.
Okay, well.
Just the high level, because I know.
Isaiah was also a seer, and he also engaged in the what we call the workings of the chariot. And by doing so, he was able to see and obtain what he did. That's a whole thing
That's a whole other thing.
Oh, interesting.
That's wild.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Barbarian's she just said human design is basically the most in-depth personality test using the least amount of information, birthday, time, and location. Sounds like astrology stuff. Cool. You can check that out if you guys want on Google. Someone did say, and this is a good way to end right here, for the Stick of Judah series, would you consider recording the lectures and selling tickets for online viewing for those of us that live out of state? It's actually a pretty good idea.
I think we have something like that basically being discussed.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to get something like that figured out, but we will live stream the lecture at least. So if you live in Utah and you want to come and hear Mike Day give a lecture on the documentary hypothesis, and then Dave and Mike, talk about it after. We're doing the lecture series. It's going to be on January 15th in Provo, Utah.
Yeah.
Link is
like 9 days away.
And tagged, so it's 9 days away. So if you want to come, get tickets. If they're probably going to sell it pretty quickly. So if you're not able to make it to this one, we're going to be doing 11 more. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Go ahead, Dave.
I just want to say, in answer to the Yigs, watch this space. We have books coming out this year about the methods of prophesying of Isaiah. And I think in the next 18 months, a book by each of these guys.
Yeah.
So Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Okay, cool. Well, we love you guys. Thank you so much for joining. No
pressure.
We'll be back Tuesday in 2 Tuesdays from now. And yeah, until next time, stay curious and hungry.
Dude, I am interested in that prophetic.